before I hit record, we were talking about feeding the birds. And one thing. Let's tell people two things that they could do really. Then, perhaps one, they could go to your petition and sign it, and hold the government accountable at least to involve scientists, look at the science, and come back with a better response than just saying that it will be local. It's for local authorities, depending upon the specific circumstances of each site, which, as you say, is very woolly, isn't it? Really, what are the specific circumstances of each site? Anyway, let's not get into that, because I think you and I both know that's a bit woolly. But one other thing people could do is, if they're not going to get naked, and that's not, I don't want to tell them to do that, but if they are looking outside and it's looking cold, perhaps in a way, what they could do is they could go out and take that bird feeder and they could clean it, because this is something you're really passionate about as well, aren't you? Potentially, if I can, and put you on the spot a bit, we were talking about clean bird feeders, and that's an important thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so firstly, with the petition, that's easy. You just have to remember my name, Hannah Bourne-Taylor, and go on my website, hannahbournetaylor.com, and it's really obvious. It says sign the petition, so that'd be great. I'm also
we'll put
on
a link
Twitter
to that, by the way.
Okay, cool. And then when it comes to the feeding of the birds, then obviously I'm really massive advocate for feeding birds, because my connection with birds, in terms of them living on my body, is really extreme, but it was rooted in the idea of connecting to my garden birds as a child, learning about them, and then also feeding them. And the neigh-neighs with WWT, that idea of feeding the birds and having that child to goose connection through feeding is something that I had and have taken with me. And now I know that there are so many people that love the garden birds, because I play this Twitter game every day, which is First Bird of My Day, where I put whatever bird I've seen, and then people from around the world, there are over 100 people that play from around the world every day, tell me what their first bird is. And often they're on the feeder, and often they're talking about these feeders. They send me photographs. And what's really great is that people care, and people actually pay quite a lot of money to feed these birds, which actually really need our help through the winter especially. But then the reality is this elephant in the room, where these feeders are actually really bad because they're open to the elements, and in the winter they get wet, and what happens is the birds are putting their feet and the poo into the food. The food is then getting mouldy because of the damp, and then they're eating it, and that's why they're getting these diseases, these fungal diseases, and that's why a huge factor of reason why the greenfinch is now on the red list is for that reason. So we're actually facilitating this mass disease because it's unnatural to feed the birds, but I don't want to tell people not to feed the birds. I think it's really important, and it's so much a joyful and an educational thing to do with your children, with all the generations. For people like me who are really lonely sometimes, it makes my whole day. But clean your feeders, clean the feeders all the time, because if you think about the fungus, you can see the dust, you can see the mold. You're killing the birds that you love if you don't feed them. So that sounds really extreme and really confrontational, but I feel desperate about it, because it doesn't occur to quite a lot of people. It does occur to some people. Lots of people do clean them. It's a real faff to clean them. It's a real labour of love. But if you love them enough to put the food out in the first place, which I really think people do love them, otherwise they wouldn't pay and they wouldn't bother to put them up. They wouldn't bother watching them. The cleaning is as important, if not more important, than anything else.